If no one is coming to help you in 2026, your first move is not to complain. Your first move is to become harder to ignore. The unsupported man does not need a perfect plan. He needs 6 moves that turn isolation into leverage. Because in 2026, the market will not care who doubted you. It will not care who misunderstood you. It will not care whether your family believed in your ambition, whether your friends respected your vision, or whether society gave you a clean road. It will ask colder questions. What can you prove? What can you sell? What can you build? What can you make impossible to dismiss? And if you get this wrong, you do not just lose money, you lose time. You lose bargaining power. You lose the habit of acting without permission. You slowly become the man who keeps explaining why he should have been supported, instead of becoming the man whose evidence makes support irrelevant. Here is the first truth. Unsupported men do not usually fail because they are lazy. Many of them work hard. Many of them suffer quietly. Many of them carry pressure that no one sees. But pressure alone does not build power. They fail because they build effort, but not leverage. They build desire, but not proof. They build dreams, but not bargaining power. Machiavelli understood this better than most modern men. Power does not come from being deserving. Power comes from becoming necessary. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote, "Those who solely by good fortune become princes from being private citizens have little trouble in rising, but much in keeping atop." He was speaking about rulers, but the law applies to every man trying to rise without support. If your rise depends on luck, attention, charity, or someone opening a door, your position is unstable from the beginning. You may be lifted, but you will not know how to stand. So the first law for the unsupported man is simple. Do not build a life that requires someone else to keep believing in you. Build proof. Build cash flow. Build skill. Build control. Support can disappear. Leverage remains. Before the 6 moves begin, understand the first strategic rule. Your wealth does not begin with passive income. It begins with survival power. Most men want passive income because they want escape. They want money without pressure. They want returns without friction. They want the reward before they have created active value. But passive income is not the beginning. It is the reward for first becoming useful enough to create surplus. Look at Phil Knight before Nike became Nike. He did not begin with celebrity athletes. He did not begin with global stores. He did not begin with a billion-dollar brand. He began with shoes. Blue Ribbon Sports, the company that later became Nike, began as a distributor for Japanese running shoes made by Onitsuka Tiger. Knight sold those shoes at track meets, directly from his car, while the future empire still looked ordinary to everyone else. That is the lesson. He did not wait to look powerful. He sold before he was respected. He created proof before the market gave him status. He turned movement into evidence. This is what unsupported men misunderstand. They want the world to believe in the empire before they have proven they can sell the first product. But the market does not respect your vision first. It respects your first transaction, your first customer, your first result, your first proof that someone, somewhere, is willing to exchange money for what you can provide. Paul Graham later described a related idea called ramen profitability. It means a startup earns just enough revenue for the founders to survive without needing outside money. Small revenue does not mean victory, but it does mean the company has bought time, and time is strategy. That is not startup trivia. That is Machiavellian wealth doctrine. The first wealth move is not to look rich. It is to become harder to kill. Before status, survive. Before scale, sell. Before freedom, create cash flow. Before anyone believes in you, build proof that cannot be dismissed. Move 1. Build a high-value skill. Your first wealth move in 2026 is not networking. It is not posting quotes. It is not waiting for someone to discover your potential. Your first move is to build a skill the market cannot politely ignore. Sales, content, AI workflows, coding, editing, operations, lead generation, finance, negotiation. Pick one battlefield. Because an unsupported man without skill is not independent. He is merely alone. This is where many men lie to themselves. They think loneliness is strength. It is not. Loneliness without capability is just exposure. Solitude becomes power only when you use it to train something the market can measure. Money is not attracted to your pain. Money is attracted to solved problems. The world does not pay you because your situation is unfair. It pays you because your ability removes friction from someone else's life. Machiavelli wrote, "Nature creates few men, brave industry and training makes many." That line matters because it kills the fantasy that strength must be natural. You do not need to be born exceptional. You need to train until your usefulness becomes undeniable. Courage is not enough. Hunger is not enough. Being misunderstood is not enough. A man becomes dangerous when repeated preparation turns into visible capability. If you enter 2026 without a high-value skill, you are depending on mercy. You depend on your boss. You depend on timing. You depend on someone noticing your potential. And potential without proof is one of the cheapest currencies in the world. There are millions of men with potential. There are fewer men who can close a deal, build a system, edit a video that retains attention, write copy that converts, automate a workflow, generate qualified leads, understand numbers, negotiate terms, or create measurable outcomes. So choose one skill that sits close to revenue, not close to ego, close to revenue. A skill is high value when it helps someone make money, save time, reduce risk, gain attention, or gain control. That is the filter. Do not ask, "What do I enjoy?" Ask, "What pain can I remove?" Pain removed is value created. Value created is the beginning of leverage. But most unsupported men get trapped here. They try to learn 10 things, because choosing one thing feels like losing options. But scattered ambition is weakness disguised as flexibility. If you never choose one battlefield, you never have to face the humiliation of losing on it. But you also never become dangerous. A high-value skill is not just a way to make money. It is a weapon against dependency. It gives you options. Options change your confidence. Confidence changes how you speak, how you negotiate, how you move, and what disrespect you tolerate. A broke man with no skill must ask. A skilled man with proof can choose. The old belief is this: I need someone to give me a chance. The stronger belief is this: I need to become useful enough that chance becomes irrelevant. But skill alone is still hidden power. And hidden power is often treated like no power at all. Move. 2. Create public proof. If no one can see your value, the world behaves as if it does not exist. This is not fair. It is reality. Machiavelli built an entire worldview around one brutal fact. Men judge appearances before they verify substance. Why do talented men stay invisible? Because they think good work will speak for itself. It usually does not. Good work must be framed, displayed, documented, packaged, repeated. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." Do not misread that as advice to fake substance. That would be foolish. The colder lesson is that substance with no perception has limited power. In modern life, That means public proof, a portfolio, case studies, videos, essays, breakdowns, before and after results. Testimonials. Screenshots of outcomes, clear demonstrations of ability. Without public proof, you stay dependent on permission. You need someone to trust you. You need someone to take a chance. You need someone to believe your story. Proof reduces the need for belief. Proof lets the market inspect you before it meets you. Proof works while you sleep. Proof becomes your unpaid salesman. And for the unsupported man, proof replaces the network he does not have. Build a proof stack. Not vague ambition, not "I am hardworking," not "I am passionate." Evidence. If you edit videos, show retention improvements. If you do sales, show outreach numbers, booked calls, closed deals. If you code, show working projects. If you write, publish sharp essays or landing pages. If you use AI, show workflows that save hours or increase output. If you study finance, publish breakdowns that prove judgment. The world does not need your explanation. It needs your evidence. This is where many men expose their weakness. They want results before visibility. They want confidence before posting. They want mastery before proof. But proof is built by exposure. Your first work will not be perfect. Good. Perfection is often fear-wearing expensive clothes. Phil Knight did not wait until Nike looked like Nike. He went where runners were. Track meets, coaches, athletes, the market. He did not hide inside a fantasy. He took the product to the people who could reject it. And that rejection risk created data. Data created proof. Proof created momentum. Momentum created a company. If you are the right man, stop mistaking private effort for progress. You already know you need to become undeniable. But your problem is that too much of your work is still invisible. If you keep hiding your ability until you feel ready, you will stay dependent on people who cannot measure you. Inside Patreon, you get the unfiltered breakdowns, deeper frameworks, and private strategic lessons that help you convert ambition into proof, leverage, and control. This is not for men who want comfort. It is for men who are finished waiting for permission. The decision is yours. Public proof changes your position. It turns you from someone asking for a chance into someone offering evidence. Reputation is not built from what you intend. It is built from what others can repeatedly observe. Old belief, my work should speak for itself. New belief, my work must be made visible, or it can be ignored, stolen, or forgotten. The unsupported man cannot afford invisibility. He must become legible to the market. But visibility without cash flow can become performance. Many men become visible and still remain powerless because they chase applause before income. Move 3. Build cash flow. Before chasing passive income. Passive income is not where the unsupported man begins. It is where the disciplined man arrives after he creates active value. Most men want passive income because they are tired. But exhaustion is not a business model. Passive income becomes dangerous when it seduces men into skipping the part where value is created. They want money without friction, reward without proof, scale without service, return without skill. Machiavelli would recognize this fantasy as dependence on fortune. If you chase passive income too early, you lose time. You buy courses instead of building competence. You fantasize about investing while you have no surplus. You dream about assets while your own labor has not become valuable. And you become vulnerable to every man selling escape to the impatient. The unsupported man cannot afford fantasy. He needs cash flow. Cash flow gives oxygen. Oxygen gives time. Time gives strategy. Strategy gives power. Before passive income, build active cash flow from a real skill. freelancing, service business, sales commissions, content monetization, consulting, contract work, productized services, small offers. Anything that converts ability into money now, not forever, now. Because your first financial goal is not luxury, it is not image, it is not looking successful, it is becoming harder to control. This is where pride kills men. They think small cash flow is beneath them. They want the empire before the first dollar. They want investors before customers. They want passive income before active value. But Phil Knight did not begin by looking like the founder of Nike. He began by selling shoes, one pair at a time, at track meets, from direct contact with the market. That matters because the market is the only judge that cannot be argued with. Your family can doubt you, your friends can laugh, society can ignore you. But when a customer pays, reality has spoken. Most unsupported men are addicted to being understood before they are useful. They want emotional belief before commercial proof. But a man who depends on belief collapses when belief disappears. Small cash flow is not small when it buys independence. The first dollar is not about the dollar, it is evidence. It proves the world can pay you directly. It proves your skill can enter the market. It proves you are no longer only hoping, you are transacting. Paul Graham's ramen profitability points to the same truth. Enough revenue to survive changes your position. You are no longer forced to beg for permission to exist. You have bought time. And time is strategy. The truth is this: cash flow is not just money. Cash flow is political freedom. When Phil Knight sold shoes directly, he was not just making sales, he was gathering proof. Proof of demand, proof of movement, proof that the market could respond. That is the first form of power. Not applause, not belief, not approval. Response, not belief, not approval. Response. A man with no cash flow is easy to pressure. A man with cash flow has room to think. And the man who can think under pressure is harder to dominate. So stop despising small beginnings. Small beginnings are not the enemy. Dependence is the enemy. The old belief is this: I need passive income so I can escape work. The stronger belief is this: I need active value first, because active value creates the surplus that buys assets later. The unsupported man does not need to start impressive. He needs to start alive, then useful, then visible, then undeniable. But cash flow alone is not enough if your mind is still begging to be understood. Move 4. Stop explaining your ambition. Every time you explain your ambition to people who never built anything, you are not seeking understanding. You are asking permission from the unqualified. And this is one of the quietest ways unsupported men leak power. They think they are communicating. They think they are being clear. They think if they just explain the plan well enough, the room will finally understand. But under the explanation is a hunger to be approved, a hunger to be seen, a hunger to have someone say, yes, you are allowed to become more than we expected. That hunger is dangerous, because the moment your nervous system needs agreement before action, your ambition is no longer controlled by you. It is controlled by the reaction of people who may not even understand the game you are playing. Why does explanation weaken you? Because explanation often feels like strategy, but it is usually emotional negotiation. You want them to understand why you are working late. You want them to understand why you are building instead of relaxing. You want them to understand why you are not satisfied with ordinary outcomes. You want them to understand why you are changing. But many people do not evaluate your ambition by its truth. They evaluate it by how much it threatens their map of you. If they know you as the quiet one, your ambition threatens them. If they know you as the broke one, your progress threatens them. If they know you as the one who always needed approval, your independence threatens them. If they built their comfort around your smallness, your growth feels like betrayal. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims." This is not permission to deceive, it is a warning against naivety. People are ruled by immediate needs, fears, comforts, and interests. If your ambition disrupts their comfort, do not expect them to judge it objectively. Some will call it unrealistic because they are protecting themselves from the pain of seeing you try. Some will mock it because your movement exposes their stillness. Some will question it because they benefit from you remaining familiar. Some will ask for explanations, not because they want clarity, but because they want access to your uncertainty. And if you are unsupported, you must understand this clearly. Your unfinished plans are fragile. They do not need an audience yet. They need protection. If you keep explaining, you lose energy. You lose privacy. You expose unfinished work. You invite premature criticism. You train yourself to need agreement before movement. And slowly, you become a man who cannot act until the room gives him emotional permission. That is not ambition. That is dependency wearing the language of communication. So the fourth tactical move is simple. Replace explanation with execution. Stop telling people what you are going to build. Show what has been built. Stop asking people if your plan makes sense. Let results make the argument. Stop defending the future to people emotionally invested in your past. Build until the explanation becomes unnecessary. The unsupported man often wants witnesses. He wants someone to say, "I see you." He wants someone to recognize the pressure, the discipline, the late nights, the quiet sacrifices, the internal war. But the world is not obligated to witness your becoming. This is why silence matters. Not because secrecy is mystical, not because you should become paranoid, not because your family is automatically your enemy or your friends are automatically your enemy. Silence matters because unfinished power is fragile. Doubt can become an enemy of execution. Ridicule can become an enemy of execution. Envy can become an enemy of execution. Premature judgment can become an enemy of execution. So protect the wort before it has armor. Do not show the seed to people who only respect fruit. The deeper truth is this: explanation is often a substitute for proof. Men explain when they do not yet have evidence. But evidence is stronger than persuasion. When results exist, fewer words are required. This is Machiavellian appearance versus reality, not fake appearance, strategic appearance. Let the world see outcomes, not insecurity. The old belief is this: if they understand me, I can move. The stronger belief is this: I move first. Understanding can arrive later, or not at all. The unsupported man must kill the need to be believed before he acts. But even if you build skill, proof, cash flow, and silence, you can still remain small if every dollar you earn is consumed instead of converted into leverage. Move. 5. Reinvest into leverage. The weak use money to look important. The strategic use money to become harder to compete with. This is where many men betray their future. The first money arrives, and they spend it trying to heal the humiliation of being behind. They buy symbols, they buy approval, they buy the feeling that they are finally catching up. But if your money only changes how you look and not what you can do, you are not building power. You are decorating weakness. Money is not power by itself. Money becomes power only when it buys leverage, tools, education, distribution, a better environment, better relationships, better systems, better health, better speed, better speed. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "We have said already how necessary it is for a prince to have his foundations good. Otherwise, he is certain to be ruined. That is the law. Bad foundations eventually collect their debt. If your income rises but your systems remain weak, you are not becoming powerful. You are becoming more expensive to maintain. If you earn more but your discipline does not improve, your appetite will eat the increase. If you earn more but your environment stays chaotic, your focus will keep bleeding. If you earn more but your skills stop growing, the market will eventually pass you. If you earn more but your distribution is still weak, you remain dependent on luck. So the fifth tactical move is to create a leverage budget. Every month, direct money into 4 categories: skill acquisition, tools and systems, distribution and audience, environment and recovery. A better microphone if content is your game. Better software if automation is your game. A course or mentor if it compresses years into months. A cleaner room if chaos is draining your focus. A paid community if it exposes you to higher standards. A health routine if your body is limiting your output. Reinvestment means your income begins producing more capability. This is where many unsupported men fall back into the psychology of lack. They get money and immediately need to prove they are not behind. So they buy symbols. But symbols without substance create fragility. Yes, Machiavelli understood that men judge by appearances. But if appearance runs too far ahead of substance, you become a hollow target. You attract expectations you cannot sustain. You create an image that your foundations cannot defend. The better move is to make substance so strong that appearance becomes believable. Reinvest until your ability catches up to your ambition. Phil Knight's early lesson was not branding first. It was distribution first, sales first, proof first. Then the symbol became powerful because there was force beneath it. Without sales, the swoosh is just a mark. With proof, it becomes a flag. This is the cold payoff. Reinvestment is how the unsupported man creates the support he was denied. No mentor, buy knowledge. No network, build distribution. No wealthy family, build cash flow. No connections, build public proof. No perfect environment, engineer. 1. Do not complain about missing structures. Build substitute structures. Every dollar must answer a strategic question. Does this increase my ability to earn, learn, distribute, negotiate, recover, or control my environment? If the answer is no, it may still be pleasure. It may still be allowed, but do not confuse it with strategy. The old belief is this: when I make money, I will finally reward myself. The stronger belief is this: when I make money, I will convert it into greater power first. The unsupported man must not spend like a rescued man. He must reinvest like a founder under siege. But leverage still needs direction. And this is where the sixth move decides whether 2026 becomes progress or noise. Move 6. Choose one wealth game. The unsupported man cannot afford to play every wealth game. He does not have infinite time. He does not have infinite money. He does not have infinite emotional bandwidth. So he must choose. Not based on fantasy. Based on current proof. This is where modern self-improvement lies to men. It gives universal advice to unequal positions. It tells a man with no cash flow to invest like a millionaire. It tells a man with no proof to build a personal brand. It tells a man with no audience to launch products. It tells a man with no track record to think like a fund manager. This is how men waste years. They admire investors, so they pretend investing is their game. They admire founders, so they pretend startups are their game. They admire influencers, so they pretend audience is their game. They admire fund managers, so they fantasize about managing capital before they have managed themselves. That is not strategy. That is admiration disguised as direction. Machiavelli would call this a failure to understand your position. In The Prince, he repeatedly distinguishes between men who rise by their own arms and men who rise by the arms of others. The principle is simple. Power gained through your own capacity is more stable than power borrowed from others. If you choose the wrong wealth game, you waste years. You build the wrong skills. You consume the wrong content. You copy men who are in a different stage. You imitate their tactics without having their resources. And imitation without context is one of the fastest ways to become ridiculous. So here are the 4 wealth games from your current position. Bootstrapping, if you have skill, time, and low capital. Raising capital, if you have traction, market insight, and the ability to persuade investors. Investing, if you have surplus cash and emotional discipline. Fund management, if you have a track record, trust, legal structure, and deep judgment. Pick based on proof, not fantasy. If you have no cash flow, your game is not investing. It is skill and income. If you have no audience, your game is not influence. It is proof and distribution. If you have no track record, your game is not managing other people's money. It is building evidence with your own. The unsupported man does not get to skip steps because his ego is tired. A man with no savings should not copy a man with a fund. A man with no proof should not copy a man with brand equity. A man with no skill should not copy a man with operators beneath him. Machiavelli studied position. He studied terrain. He studied timing. He studied the forces available. And wealth is no different. Your opportunity depends on your position. So, the 6th payoff is this. Your wealth game must match your current leverage. Not your ego, not your fantasy, not your favorite billionaire. Your current leverage. If you have skill but no audience, build proof. If you have proof but no offer, build cash flow. If you have cash flow but no system, reinvest. If you have surplus but no judgment, study before investing. If you have judgment but no trust, build a public track record. If you have trust, track record, and structure, then higher games become possible. The ladder must be climbed in order. Unsupported men cannot afford skipped steps. The old belief is this: I need to find the best way to get rich. The stronger belief is this: I need to choose the game my current proof allows me to win. The unsupported man does not chase every battlefield. He chooses one and becomes dangerous there. If you are the right man, stop confusing consumption with strategy. You already know more content will not save you, but your problem is that you keep collecting ideas instead of building operating principles. If you keep consuming without executing, you will become intelligent, informed, and still powerless. Inside Patreon, you get deeper, unfiltered material on money, power, discipline, reputation, and self-command, so you can turn knowledge into structure and structure into leverage. This is not for passive viewers. It is for men who want their private life to become an engine of power. The decision is yours. Now the 6 moves are clear. Move 1. Build a high-value skill, because without skill, you are dependent. Move 2. Create public proof, because without proof, your value remains invisible. Move 3. Build cash flow before chasing passive income, because without survival power, you are easy to pressure. Move 4. Stop explaining your ambition, because explanation is often permission seeking in disguise. Move 5. Reinvest into leverage, because money spent on image dies, but money converted into capability compounds. Move 6. Choose one wealth game, because scattered ambition creates scattered results. This is not motivation, this is structure, and it reflects Machiavelli's central worldview. Men fail when they misunderstand reality. They trust love where interest rules. They trust fairness where power decides. They trust intention where appearance dominates. They trust fortune where preparation is required. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved if one of the two has to be wanting." This line is often abused. It does not mean become cruel. It does not mean intimidate people. It does not mean confuse power with brutality. It means affection is unstable when interest changes. Respect, consequence, usefulness, and strength are more durable than emotional approval. For the unsupported man, the lesson is not make people fear you. The lesson is this: stop building your future on being liked. Build it on proof. Build it on competence. Build it on leverage. Build it on the fact that ignoring you becomes expensive. Support changes, loyalty changes, attention changes, markets change. People who clapped yesterday may doubt tomorrow. People who doubted yesterday may pretend they believed all along. So the unsupported man must not build a life that collapses when other people change their minds. He must build internal arms, skill, proof, cash flow, silence, reinvestment, strategic focus. This is your army, not violence, not cruelty. Capability. Because in Machiavelli's language, a prince who relies on borrowed arms is never secure, and in modern life, a man who relies on borrowed belief is never free. You thought being unsupported meant you were abandoned, but there is a colder interpretation. You are unowned. No one funded you, no one opened the door, no one carried the weight, no one gets to claim your rise. But that only becomes power if you stop using abandonment as evidence against yourself. Isolation is not automatically strength. It becomes strength only when converted into discipline, into skill, into proof, into money, into leverage, into control. The unsupported man has no time for resentment. Resentment is emotional debt. Strategy is repayment. In 2026, do not ask who believes in you. Ask what evidence you have built. Do not ask who supports you. Ask what systems support your execution. Do not ask why they ignored you. Ask whether ignoring you has become costly yet. That is the line between the powerless man and the strategic man. The powerless man wants recognition before proof. The strategic man builds proof until recognition becomes late. The unsupported man must become useful, then visible, then undeniable. No support, no network, no permission, build anyway.